Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of our Minecraft Let's Play series. Today we're going to look at an old, abandoned, and decrepit elementary school building. Now, we're just going to jump right into it, but first, I'd like to square you away with a little bit of a history lesson on this building. Now, this building was actually founded by the George Washington, our first U.S. president. He actually built this himself with his own hammer and sickle. Moving on into the building, we actually see some cardboard boxes. These contain the skeletal remains of George Washington himself. Now, you might be thinking, now, come on. Our founding father could not possibly have left his remains to an old elementary school. But you're wrong, and if you buy this property, you get to keep the bones. It's all yours, baby. He may have owned slaves in his day, but now it's your turn to own him. Moving right along into the kindergarten stables here, we're going to take a look at a little bit of damage here. The desks in this area are completely broken, and the ceiling is in a similar state of disrepair. This is actually due to a combination of water damage and a goblin infestation in the roof. This is part of the reason we're selling this property. The goblins have run amok, and it is getting quite out of hand to deal with them all the time. Now, we're going to move into a dark, dank room with a broken toilet. Now, this room is no longer a functioning area for utilities, such as the bathroom type. However, it could be repurposed and retooled as a gaming room, which I think is a very, very nice idea for that. Once again, another former bathroom area. This time, the goblins have taken all of the porcelain out of the room. Once again, open concept, you can slap a ping pong table in this room and call it home. And that's what I really like about this type of property, is that you can really flip it to your own desires. Another perk of this property is our little toy dinosaur here that comes with the building on your purchase, so you can go ahead and take him with you wherever you go, and he will always be your friend no matter what. Some more goblin damage on the ceiling, but nothing that isn't beyond fixing. In this dark room, we keep all of the chairs who have done us harm in the past. This is the timeout room for chairs. Moving on. As you can see, we've taken some decorative liberties here with stapling these sharp shards of wood to the wall. Moving on into this darkened room here, we can see this is another open concept space. Perfect for perhaps a living room, maybe a fireplace. A little bit of goblin damage on the ceiling, but a little goblin damage never hurt anybody. That's what my grandfather always used to say. He was unfortunately killed in Vietnam by goblins. An ironic fate, I know, but I believe that he lived by those words every day, and what happened to him was a fluke accident that we can move on from and learn from and become more accepting of goblin culture, despite the fact that they live in our ceilings and chew our tiles. I feel like I'm dwelling a little bit on the goblins here, so let's move into this room and talk about another historical fact about this building. This is actually a safe house, in addition to being an elementary school. It is also a safe house for confidential files that the US government would like to keep under wraps. We also have a large hole in the wall, as well as a little bit of bubble wrap on the floor for the kids. Now, all of these files are confidential. Oh, speaking of which, in this room... Oh, right, I forgot. You'll notice that I'm using a flashlight throughout this tour as opposed to turning on the lights. That is because I brought my niece here, and well, as you can see, she chewed up all of the wiring throughout this building, so all of the lights are completely useless right now, and until we get that fixed, it will be a little bit dark in the building, but it's just a quaint little added bonus, really, if you look at it like that. You can get a lot more sleep in a dark building. Moving on again, as I was saying, there are hundreds and hundreds of confidential files from the Nixon administration in this very room, and if you buy this property, all of these files come with it. So if you've ever wondered where your socks go in the laundry, or what Area 51 truly is, look no further than that room. Once again, we see more goblin damage. You can see clear bite marks on this tile. It's quite the atrocity. And moving on from the goblins, we have tables of just cardboard boxes in a bucket, as well as ducts for daring ceiling escapes. Has anybody here watched Die Hard? Wow, what a great Christmas movie, a real classic. That scene where Bruce Willis climbs through the ceiling vents, man, I can never get that out of my head, and I think about that every time I see a duct. It's quite the inspiration. Oh, and oh wow, there's barrels and dirt all over the floor. But hey, a lot of people like cleaning. Oh, the ceiling's caving in? A lot of people like rain. The paint doesn't go all the way up to the top of the roof. Well, you're in an art room. Come on now. Oh, did I mention? This is the art room, by the way. This is where kids would come to express their creativity until they expressed it a little bit too much and they got locked up in this room. This room is the punishment room. It's also the kiln room. Sometimes kids would be punished while the kiln was running and they would be inside of the kiln. That was frightening. And I don't really like where the discipline system is gone nowadays, where we can't throw children in the kiln to punish them for past... You know, I'm not really selling the property by talking about kiln punishments, am I? Well, skedaddling out of this room like my uncle skedaddled out of my niece's life and left her with me, we're gonna head on into this other room over here. But before we do, we're gonna look at some more goblin damage. I really can't help but look at it. It's just really horrible. This area has many outlets. You could set up an entire arcade in this room, and it has minimal goblin damage. I am quite shocked that this room has managed to stay so pure and so clean from the scourge that has got... Calm down. Calm down. The goblins didn't... The gymnasium. Yes, there's dirt on the floor. Fuse box, my niece chewed that up. I'm sorry about that. Goblins. Anyway, as you can see, we painted pretty much the entire room white. It was on clearance sale. But, you can repaint it. Anyway, moving on. This is, in fact, an essential part of any school. As you know, you can't have a school without a scum tank room. The scum tank has since been removed, so if you want a scum tank in this building after you purchase it, you will have to install your own scum tank. But just know that the inner workings are there for that. In fact, we're going to take a closer look at that as we head up the stairs here, trying not to think about how our grandmother died by falling down a set, just like these. Moving on up to our inner workings of the scum tank plumbing system. Now this room we use to tie up our janitor staff, but it is also a quintessential piece of our framework here. Let me take a chance to thank our sponsors, Wheel and Lane. Wheel and Lane, they are quite the academic philanthropists. They sponsored this entire feat of putting in the scum tank in our humble little school that we are unfortunately having to sell now for various reasons, including but not limited to the not gonna say it. The water damage, we'll say. The water damage. Beyond that, though, I am compelled to tell you that the downside of doing a virtual tour such as this as opposed to giving an actual real-life tour is that I can't give you the full effect of the smell and the odors of this room, and so I'm going to try to paint you a picture of an experience I had when I was younger. You see, I frequently like to drink tubs of gravy, chunky, smooth, you name it, gravy nonetheless. And one day I left one of my tubs open in my car on a hot day, and I came back in and I could smell the scent overpowering me, and I saw that it was overrun with ants, and I was just in awe of the ecosystem I had created that I couldn't get rid of it. But then later that week somebody else used my car and decided to take a drink of it, and well, Ted is dead now, and so are all my ants. Ted, thanks a lot. Moving back down into the gymnasium now. Exiting now, once again, into the gymnasium. we're going to go ahead and move back into the main hallway where we're going to take a look at the rest of this wing before moving on to the higher levels of grades here in the elementary school. Once again, looking at the water damage on the ceiling, as well as another one of our little stables here for the children to run around in whenever we would teach them things. I am drawn to the ceiling once again, and the sight of ducts and images of Bruce Willis on Christmas running through my mind. What a man. What an absolute man. Now, these tiles in this hallway are quite colorful, except for everywhere they have been torn out due to excessive water damage. This little cubby used to contain a fire extinguisher before the Great Fire of '89, when it was removed and never replaced. Such a travesty had not befallen the school since then, as horrible as the Great Fire of '89 was. We lost many, many good folk on that day, mostly animals. All of the people got out alive. However, there was one student who had brought their spider collection to the school, and while the spiders did not burn to death, they did get free in the frenzy as everybody was leaving, and they crawled into a young woman named Susan's footwear, where they were smashed to death, but not before they managed to bite Susan and cause horrible swelling on her feet that ultimately led to the amputation of Susan's left foot. Our school district was lucky enough to have had an incredible, truly incredible nursing staff who were actually licensed surgeons, so they could carry out the amputation on Susan's foot at the school during the school day so she would not miss any more classes than she had to. However, we do not have proper anesthetic at the school, so it was done anesthetic free, but I do think that Susan is a stronger person for having had her foot amputated without anesthetic because of it. Now, moving on out, we have the blue hallway. The blue hallway is actually named for an event called the Blue Plague that occurred in 2007. Now, the Blue Plague gets its name from, well, I suppose you'll see as I tell the story, won't you? You see, a young man named Timmy Staples had brought in a small vial of blueberries which he dumped out on the floor and proceeded to smash with his feet. However, he did not realize that the blueberries were carriers of a deadly disease from Costa Rica, where the blueberries had been harvested, which then infected the student populace. Luckily, thanks again to our wonderful nursing staff, nobody had perished from the illnesses. However, the class of 2019 was permanently discolored blue as a result of catching this plague, and from then on they were known as the blue class of 2019, as it were. Here again we have another room with some wiring in it, which once again has been ravaged by my niece, and honestly, I'm really not sure how she's survived all of these years of chewing up electrical wires. But I suppose that is kind of one of the reasons for having children, I suppose. The thrill of not knowing whether or not they'll make it till tomorrow. I think that's something every parent enjoys, is uncertainty for their safety and their safety of their children. I think so, at least. That seems likely. Stepping into the foyer outside of the bathrooms, we can see bags in the ceilings that used to contain milk. This is where we stored all of the school's milk before they were packed into cartons and given to the children. This was to keep it fresh in the ceilings, away from any harm, until, of course, the water damage came along and ruined that. Here's another space for another scum tank. We never really put one into this bathroom. However, you could certainly put a scum tank into this room. It is a perfectly viable scum tank alternative area, fully decked out with top-of-the-line electronics and plumbing that any scum tank would need to function. Of course, this being the men's bathroom, we have a set of urinals and a set of toilets. The urinals being for dumping out cartons of milk that are unwanted, as well as, well, the standard, you know what urinals are used for. Bloodletting. Now, moving on past the former fountain area, we can see the women's bathroom, which is not supplied with urinals, as women do not urinate. All of the plumbing in this room is attached to absolutely nothing, and this entire room is entirely for show, because, as we all know, women have no need for the lavatory. Moving out of the redundant bathroom, we're going to move into the main foyer, where the children would come in for their days of learning. As you can see here, we have a nice little wall with the Reese's Puffs logo all strewn across it. There certainly is not a plaque below that states the name of the town in which this school is located. Once again, here we have a server room, this time with plumbing electronics. Our computers always ran on water as opposed to electricity in our school district. It is the most efficient method to go, especially with the hydroelectric dam project that was going on at the time of this school's construction. So really it was only fitting that we would change over all of our computer technologies to hydroelectric technology. Taking another look at the electronics here that my niece chewed up, and we're going to head back outside where we can see the beautiful yard that you will be getting if you choose to purchase this property. As you can see, there is a piece of trash in the lawn, and that is of no concern, really. There are several pieces of trash in this lawn. You think one is going to stop me? I don't think so. Turning the corner here, this is the doghouse. This is where we keep the dogs amid all of this sharp shrapnel and scrap and pipes. The dogs love it. They go nuts for it. It's great. As you can see, there is a flagstaff on the property so that you can raise any flag you so desire, so long as it doesn't trigger any militant uprisings. That would be a bit under our expectations here. Now, we're going to head into the west wing of this little quaint school of ours, where we're going to see carpeted walls. Now, the thing to note about this section of the school is it's the newer edition, and it is in fact a massive open space with carpet walls put up temporarily in between. If you were to push on any of these walls, they would come crumbling down because they are temporary walls. They are just dividers. This entire area is one big room, and thus every single room that I show you is going to look exactly the same, and there will be nothing new to say about it, and I will be forced to make something up about it because there's nothing special about it. Oh look! An empty room! Wow! Wow! Amazing! This is great! Buy the property. There are of course basketball hoops here in case you wanted to play some horizontal basketball. Other than that, I think I'm going to sprint through the rest of this tour, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead and kick it into third gear as we zoom through all of these rooms. As we begin moving through this tour at a much higher rate of speed, a bit more to taste of most people's viewership. I don't think you've gotten 20 minutes into this so far, and I'd assume if you're at the end here, this is getting quite monotonous, and so we're just going to head through. As you can see, like I said, this is just one big massive room that is separated out into a bunch of smaller rooms. There's nothing special about it whatsoever. There's like cafeteria tables around here every once in a while, but other than that, there's really nothing of substance here. There's just more ducts, some filing cabinets, a pillar every once in a while, and gosh, if you see a pillar, boy howdy, we're having an interesting day. Another dark room, and And then it opens back out into the office area, and we've got ourselves a nice little tour of good old George Washington's elementary school. So there we go, another dumb video for this dumb channel.